Right, this is the first video for chapter 25. We talked a lot about electricity and magnets. We've talked some how they are related. Today, and this chapter, we're talking about electromagnetic induction and what really made electricity become commonplace around the world is electromagnetic induction. Now, in the early 1800s, they had already figured out that if you could have a current to charge and power things, that would be very, very useful. And the best that they could do were these little voltaic cells, these little batteries that were created because they would dissolve certain metals in acid. Now, they're very small currents and was not efficient to use or to make. So when Mr. Olmsted found in 1820 during his classroom project that a magnet could create a current in a wire, then it really opened the door to a lot of wondering about how electricity and magnets could be related. And there were two guys in general who did a lot of work with the idea of electromagnetic induction, working separately, not working together, and their discoveries really laid the foundation for electricity being used like we use it today. So Michael Faraday is the first guy. He is from Britain. He was working in the United Kingdom. He started his career with electromagnetic rotation, is what he called it. He was really spending a lot of time to see how they are related, how you could create electricity using magnets. And so from all of this, he discovered electromagnetic induction, is what we ended up calling it. He was an inventor, built lots of things. The first thing he built the first transformer. We'll get into that later on. It is not Optimus Prime, just in case you're wondering. He built the first generator and the first electric motor. And then he really laid the basis for electrochemistry. So he did a lot of work with electricity and magnets, really setting the groundwork for electromagnetic induction and the electric grid that we would use in America. The other guy is Joseph Henry, and he was working in America. He discovered that magnets could be made stronger if you added electric current to it. So if you have a magnet and you want it to be stronger, if you add electric current, if you wrap it in wire and send current through there, then your magnet becomes stronger. And so then he also discovered the phenomena of self-induction. And a lot of his principles were used as the basis for learning something new, like the telegraph machines. The beginnings of those were because of Joseph Henry's work. Now, he wouldn't describe himself as an inventor. He didn't go around inventing things. There are no patents in his name. He describes himself as a researcher, where he would spend a lot of time trying to figure out how things are working and why they're working. And then other people would come along behind him and use his ideas to build machines like a telegraph machine. So a lot of his discoveries led to other bigger discoveries and inventions that made practical use of the principles that he laid the groundwork for. He made the first weather map, and that turned meteorology into a science because of his work being able to explain the weather. And then the Smithsonian Institute, which is going to be in DC, if you've ever been to the Air and Space Museum or any of those, he was the first director of that Institute of Learning. The next guy whose name is very closely connected with electricity is Nikola Tesla. Tesla worked with this guy named George Westinghouse. What really happened is Nikola Tesla was the one who figured all this stuff out. He invented lots of things. He was not a researcher exactly. He would say he was an inventor. So fluorescent lighting, the Tesla induction motor, the Tesla coil, the alternating current electrical supply system, which is what we still use in America. When you plug into the outlet on the wall, we are using AC. So he is credited with inventing the radio. And so what is used in most radios and TVs is the Tesla coil, and that's why he's credited with inventing it. There were more than 100 patents that were put in his name, and then there are countless other inventions that are credited to Nikola Tesla without a patent. Now, he sold his patent rights for the Tesla system of dynamos and transformers and motors. So all the things that had to do with a motor, he sold all of those to George Westinghouse, who was the owner of Westinghouse Electric Company. And then there was pretty good sized battles over whether or not our electric grid should be on the AC system or the DC system. And it ended up that Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse won and alternating current is what we're using. So this is a picture of a Tesla coil. If you'll recall from the video with the guy from the Mythbusters who was in that cage and dancing with the sparks flying at him, the Tesla coil was what was providing the electrical spark. And the cage that he is in is often called a Faraday cage, which you'll recognize that name from Michael Faraday, which was the guy from England who was working on electromagnetic induction. There's no quiz tonight, but the information can be used on the test, so make sure that you take notes and understand it, and I'll see you later.